Hello and welcome back to the Anaheim Convention Center at BlizzCon here for the HGC Finals 2017. The story has been nothing but clean sweeps so far. Let me give you the rundown. Some incredible matches. MVP Black with a 2-0 victory over Team Freedom, followed by Team Expert in what can only be described as an upset 2-0 victory over Team Dignitas, ending their run in this tournament in the quarterfinals. We've got 2 more matchups to go though. How are you guys feeling out there in the house? Fantastic. It is an honor to be with you. As I said before, my name is Kevin. We've got so much more for you today. Up next, EU's Fnatic versus North America's Tempo Storm. Let's hear it for these teams. Right now, let's head over to Kai Lars and our experts to get this match started.
That's right. Thank you very much, Kevin. Time to have EU versus NA. That's what we all like to see here at the HGC Finals for the round of 8. To my left-hand side, I have Skimmy, I have Wolf, I have Grubby. Joining me along for the ride here. So far, 2 series down, 2 2-0s, but very contrasting ways we actually got there, right, Skimmy?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen probably the biggest upset, obviously, was the series we just had on screen before. It feels very critical and very dismissive, but I mean, up against an opponent like MVP Black, very tough to try and take them down. I said they needed to try and bring a different angle, a different approach. It didn't happen to be enough, but obviously they put in a fantastic performance. This one, Twitch chat, if you've been ready for those memes, now's the time to get ready about it to start posting.
Yeah, for me, I was really excited to see Team Expert take down Dignitas.
Right.
And, you know, in a best of 3 like this, when you're in front of a crowd, you're playing when all the stakes are right there out on the table, to take a best of 3, they were ahead in that second game. But that's the nature of a competition like this. Anyone could come back, and we saw that happen.
Well, let's check in with the bracket, see exactly what has happened so far, as well as what's to come here for the HGC 2017 Finals. And Grubby, as we were just talking about, those 2-0s, very, very different in nature.
Yeah, one of them absolutely an expected situation, with MVP Black doing what is expected of them. Freedom improved a lot, but they were not ready to face MVP Black. Then Team Dignitas and Expert, huge shocker. I mean, if you just tuned in, that score is absolutely correct. Now, no one is selling Expert short, but Dignitas at tournaments at LAN has kind of become a thing, and to go out here 0-2 definitely was a surprise, a very welcome one, because, you know, it's a meritocracy.
Yep.
Expert has the merits to make it on.
They definitely do. And now our next fixture coming up is Fnatic, our current reigning world champions, going up against Tempo Storm, who on the international stage haven't had, you know, too much success at all. So this is going to be a mountain to climb for them, Grubby, for Tempo Storm to try and vanquish the reigning champions.
Yeah, we don't always see Tempo advance to the second stage of these big international tournaments. And now they have. They did so with a 4-3 score. So it's about the narrowest that you can do it with, pretty much almost. And so Tempo Storm is here, and I think they can be glad that they made top 8. But humankind knows no end of greed. I mean, everyone always wants more, and now that they're here, even if this was like, oh yeah, we hope we're at least top 8, they want more now, but they're against Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that the big story of Tempo Storm in the original group stage is they just got by the skin of their teeth. They're using no range DPS, using these Kerrigan compositions. They showed a lot of the strategies they had prepared. We talked about in the first group stage how they showed a lot of cards. Fnatic has now seen all of those, so they're going to have to play a little bit differently. If they play the same style they showed before, Fnatic was definitely going to have the answer.
I mean, Fnatic themselves didn't actually reveal anything. If anything, they went back and revealed, or re-revealed, so to speak, a mid-season brawl meta with the single support in Brightwing. So they're coming into this one saying, we've seen what you have. We want you to play that Kerrigan comp. Please, absolutely, bring that one to us, and we'll show you how to dismantle it, because obviously other teams having a bit of a hard time dealing with the Kerrigan aggro.
Well, of course, we're about to begin our next best of 3 here. So it's EU going up against NA here, as Tempo Storm is hopeful about their chances against the world champions.
Last year, I got to play at BlizzCon with actually the same exact roster. We got taken out, unfortunately, by PBA, Please Buff Arthas, and that really crushed us. But hopefully this year we can make a longer run.
our first matchup against Fnatic is probably pretty hype. We lost to them at mid-season brawl pretty heavily, but I think we're a lot stronger as a team now.
Fnatic is a really formidable opponent, but I would say that throughout the entire year, this is probably the weakest that they've looked. And because the format is in a best of 3, bless RNG, we can maybe take 2 quick wins off them.
Being able to play in front of just the NA home crowd it's just an amazing thing. We haven't played an international tournament in NA this year yet. We've been in Europe basically the whole time, so having this going our way is just going to be amazing.
There's no second chances. In the group stages, you can afford to lose once, and then you'll fall down to a lower bracket. But at BlizzCon, there's no lower bracket. So if you can take out a team in the best of 3, you know, they're out forever.
First of all, we have to be really careful going in at BO3 in the quarters versus Tempo, because I think they'll prepare some really niche stuff. So I think going up against Tempo Storm, we should have a fairly easy time. But this time around, I wouldn't count any team out, because we're not in our final form. We're kind of, you know, slump. As well as like just the competition throughout, the top 8 right now, it's gonna be pretty stacked. I feel there's actually a decent top 8, you know, at this tournament. So.
Yeah, I think Tempo is probably the weakest team in the top 8 right now. Before I thought Freedom was the weakest team, but after scrimming and playing versus them in the tournament, I think Tempo took their slot. It's easier to prepare, and for the first matchup we can prepare like for 1 week. So that's scary for us as well, because Tempo can also prepare for us for 1 week in a best of 3.
I think this year, like, you can't even count NA out as you usually do, because I think the competition it's just straight up stacked. Like, we have a good top 8, so it's really good for the scene, for the Heroes esport, which I'm actually really thrilled about. But you know, you don't want to lose to NA. That's just the way it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me introduce a familiar name in esports and here in North America. It is Tempo Storm! And their opponents in the blue corner, it's Sweden's Fnatic! Captains, please come center stage and shake hands. Gentlemen, good luck. May the best team win. Over to you, Kylaris.
Quacknex bringing out the dabs here on a very intense moment for the stage, as the Tempo Storm boys have the fury of the crowd behind them, and that was no pun intended at all going into this one. It seems like for Tempo Storm, they're going to try and rally off the back of this crowd here, and it's going to be very, very important for them to, I think, do something with a bit of flair, try and almost recreate not entirely what happened in the group stage, but kind of capture lightning in a bottle once again, going up against the world champions.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Som is always the guy who's going to hold this team together. He's going to have these tough calls in the draft. He's going to play that Kerrigan, and the crowd's going to get behind him. But if he falls behind, if Fnatic takes the first game, for example, I mean, we've seen this crowd has been behind Fnatic before.
Yeah, I mean, Tempo has a lot going for them. They have these special picks. Kerrigan and Kel'Thuzad debuted, both by Tempo Storm. They've got the crowd. They have essentially no pressure. I mean, you put pressure on yourself, but no one expects them to win here. And yet, they're going up against Fnatic. So there is a lot working for them, and that might make this a really cool match.
We can continue the discussion in a moment, but of course we'll check in with the global cheer bar to see exactly what has gone on so far. And we've surpassed 27 million in the last few minutes. So congratulations, everyone, as we continue on forward down the line. So keep cheering for these teams. Cheer for Fnatic, cheer for Tempo Storm, and it will be a good time. Skimmy, your thoughts going into this match?
I mean, slump or no slump for Fnatic, the record really for this year speaks for itself. Tempo Storm are being hungry to try and get into that sort of championship spot, have some silverware to really sort of show what this year could have come to. They've always come to these big international tournaments with a lot of fans, with a lot of love behind them, but it just doesn't seem to be enough to give them that steam, that edge over their opponent. Fnatic, they have that silverware. They are the reigning world champions. Another big favorite, much the same as MVP Black, to take out BlizzCon this year.
Well, we're going to find out what battleground we're going to here as we have our first game almost ready, and we will be having Tempo Storm take us to Towers of Doom.
All right, so Towers of Doom, we already saw a really exciting match on that one. So Tempo, you have to imagine, has brought a strategy prepared for this map, very rarely seen picked first. So excited to see how this one's going to pan out. And as we've seen already, it doesn't always matter how ahead you get early. If you can, in the late game, make those rotations, take those bell towers control.
One of the cool things here is that Tempo Storm has picked 5 different maps so far, more than pretty much almost anyone else in the tournament. And all 5 of those maps, there was only 1 repeat, so 4 different ones.
Yeah.
Towers of Doom wasn't one of them. So them picking this one is showing something that they haven't shown yet, and they've already shown a lot.
And to further that point even more, during phase 2, they played it 9 times with a 33% win rate. So this is something new, this is something different. This is them coming to Fnatic and saying, look, we've got something prepared.
All right, let's get into it then. Game number 1, the draft begins here. Europe goes up against North America. Fnatic goes up against Tempo Storm.
Now Fnatic, they've played 5 maps so far in the HGC finals group stages. 5 first ban Tassadar. They're not looking to break that streak yet, apparently.
No, and we knew the Abathur pick was going to be a very likely one, very heavily banned on this map. Was picked when Expert had Medivh banned against them instead. It was actually picked up by Dignitas in that last series. So, you know, a go-to pick here. We'll see if the Leoric comes up down the line here. Daka will be obviously the strong force in that top lane, trying to push, control the bell towers, and it feels like it's been a while since we've seen Tempo Storm go down such a normal pathway here into a macro-based draft.
A lot of different teams also been saying that Brightwing is the better version of Dahaka, so to speak, in terms of provides more utility, doesn't give too much away, gives you that anti-dive, so to speak, which is, for the most part, how this meta has really evolved, especially with the likes of Muradin jumping in, got people to back him up, and speak of, and Muradin and Karazim are going to be the first to really back up and bolster what this Abathur can bring.
Now, in terms of Tempo Storm's play in the group stage, we mentioned those Kerrigan and Kel'Thuzad outliers in the final picks, but they've also leaned very heavily on Malthael play. Right. They've liked Uther, and they started a bunch of their drafts with Malthael. I feel like Tempo Storm is continuing to rediscover themselves, to find out their identity, and to throw curveballs on the way of Fnatic here.
That's a really good point, especially considering, again, this is arguably their hardest opponent, or one of them, of course, in the entire tournament. So you've got to mix it, you've got to do something.
Yeah, I completely agree. And now they've gone down this Dahaka path of trying to throw that curveball, but they do have this really strong Abathur comp against them already. We know Abathur can work so well with the Muradin, can work so well with the Karazim. Here's the Leoric ban. We've seen Leoric paired with Abathur so much throughout this tournament, especially in opening week. So just understanding Fnatic's in-game plan there in the top lane, removing him away, removing that bell tower control. Sure, Abathur can push strong, but not as strong as a Leoric.
Second ban for Fnatic has often been different. Dahaka and Arthas, Sonya, Chromie, Abathur, pretty much whatever the situation comes down to. So no real trend there. It's really that Tassadar first ban that is consistent.
I think, are they slowly pushing them down the... If they ban ECC, they've taken Muradin. Is something like a Garrosh a potential choice for Tempo Storm? But at the same time, they've already picked heroes that are pretty good against like Garrosh combinations.
Exactly. Muradin and Karazim can jump away from a Garrosh toss. Of course, partially this is counterplayed by Taunt of Garrosh, so that's still an option. But this ETC ban, and we don't know that they're going to do it yet. They still have a few seconds, but that is a warrior choke here. And I feel like we saw this in the last series a little bit by Expert, but they didn't end up going through with it in this pick rotation. They took the Varian, we talked much about it. Now let's see what Tempo Storm does here.
Yeah, a big question would be, will the Johanna pick come into favor here, depending on what DPS Fnatic does decide to take. I think it can be a strong choice as well. Strong wave clear, good control of the pumpkin camps, for example, the sappers, something that can slow that down. I like the Johanna pick a lot. I think it's safer, though, to hold that as your last pick here. Wait and see that DPS. Obviously, Karzim and any basically auto-attack Abathur hat target will fall to those blinds from Johanna, but I think wait and see. I think you want to just hold that warrior pick for last here.
I feel like Tempo Storm must pick Rhaegar here. He does so well at the Sapper camp control. He hasn't been picked yet. He's the #1 support of the tournament, and it is going to be that Garrosh.
So bringing it in here, and you know, obviously there's two sides of the coin to the Garrosh. Against something like a Karazim, aggressive play can be punished from a Muradin Dwarf Toss inwards, where he doesn't have that anymore, has it on cooldown. Karazim, for example, not going to be as strong in the early game to get picks, for example, but can be a very strong defensive tool with the taunt you were talking about, with the defensive tosses you can see. So very strong here regardless, but taking this earlier, saving that last pick for flex.
Interesting flow of the draft though overall, Skimmy. If we anticipate it, then both of these teams have to anticipate how this is shaped up.
Yeah, I mean, for the last few minutes, I've just been looking at these bans, trying to sort of like read into the minds as to why these guys have gone this sort of direction. You see the Leoric, obviously a bully to deal with, especially when you got the Abathur hat really patching that lane to make it favorable for him in the early game, where he has now been severely impacted. ETC really suggesting to me you can play as that global dive with the stage dive, yet you can go for the power slide. You can then obviously overlap CC or that dive target. Garrosh not going to function the same way, but you will have that flip into Lick, which between Garrosh and Dahaka allows you to have a big window of CC, the Earthbind Totem, and Greymane to execute on that. But that's the final pick, Li Ming and Arthas. I actually quite like this.
Yeah, so it's interesting. They don't try to counter and kill the Garrosh with percentage-based damage. I feel like they're going to try, Fnatic is going to try to mostly bypass Garrosh, try to cleanse away whatever he does, jump away Li Ming, Karazim, Muradin, they have a jump, and Arthas, he usually doesn't care. You know, he turns on his ult, he turns on Icebound. So they're going to completely go around him. So what Tempo Storm needs is more battlefield control. So far, they have a few slows, but they need someone other than Garrosh, preferably either a warrior or a support with utility, to stop the onslaught of Fnatic.
I'm thinking there's two different options to consider right now. It's either Brightwing or the Lucio, as you described, gives them that mobility, gives them that ability to negate, for the most part, what Arthas can do with his Frozen Tempest. And if Fnatic are coming at you full steam ahead, then Tempo Storm can respond in time. Their composition would benefit. I mean,
But you also need wave clear against Abathur. There's a lot of elements here.
There certainly are. I think they're so heavily reliant on the Dahaka. I like the Lucio pick a lot because it will give them a lot of sustain, but it's going to be Medivh. So Tempo Storm, again, just showing us out-of-the-box drafts here. And let's see how this one pans out, guys, because, I mean, sure, you have the extra protection for Greymane. He can do a lot of damage. If the shields are the protection there, the Force of Will is timed correctly against Li Ming, you can mitigate a ton of that burst damage, and it's a different way of out-sustaining the fight.
I mean, you make the argument for Lucio with the mobility. The same thing can also apply with Medivh, with the portals. You're looking to try and jump onto that target. Yeah, you might think that you're safe in that backline, but we are bypassing, once again, that Frozen Tempest. If you can actually get to us, potentially you can land a Howling Blast where that portal is, but those are niche conditions, niche windows where it might obviously always line up, Grubby.
There's one more question to be answered in terms of Medivh. Force of Will, great against Ming. Not so much against the other four, by the way. They have a very sustained source of damage, so Force of Will doesn't do well there. I was thinking maybe Medivh, for one reason and one reason alone, is heroic. Now, both are viable options here. We always see Leyline Seal, but I could see maybe a Polymorph coming out, and this isn't something I've seen in scrims. I'm completely fishing in the dark here. But Polymorph against such a team with Karazim, who needs proximity to heal, double warrior, there is an option.
Yeah, and we're talking about double warrior with Arthas hats, Abathur hats as well. So you have to be up there in the fray, and the melee Karazim needs to be there. So I think Polybomb and Leyline Seal both kind of disrupt that.
Both do, yes.
Right. And down the line, something like Hive Mind could be heavily countered by the idea of a Polybomb. But anyway, that's a long way down the line.
Yeah.
We are almost ready now to head into game number 1. So let's go over to our commentary team to bring you Fnatic going up against Tempo Storm.
Thank you, Kalaris. We've got Gillian Dredd here for North America versus EU. And Dredd, The wall has been built of the Korean and European teams here in the quarterfinals. Can North America bust through?
It's gonna be hard, but you know, something inside of me, my North American pride, it cannot let up hope here. I believe that Tempo Storm and the rest of North America that is still remaining has a shot. As long as we come at the game with a different angle, catch Fnatic maybe off guard.
Yeah, anything can happen in a best of 3 as we just saw in the last series.
Yeah, even Quackness kind of admitting, you know, can't count anybody out in this type of tournament format. Everyone has the opportunity. So you know Fnatic is not letting up lightly here versus Tempo.
Well, we are ready for game 1 of this best of 3 North America. Tempo Storm taking on Europe with Fnatic. Let's get inside of Towers of Doom.
Starting off in the blue is your defending world champions. We have Wubby on the Arthas, Schwimpy playing Abathur, Breeze playing the Murden, Karazim played by Smexy, and Quacknix on that Li Ming. Let's hear it for Fnatic!
And in the red, looking to live up to the legacies of old North America, Caterpillar playing Dahaka, Cothenluck on Greymane, Fury on his Garrosh, Psalm playing Medivh, and June playing Rhaegar. Let's hear it for Tempo Storm!
The crowd rearing here for North America. That is something that you know Tempo Storm is going to be relying on here in this game. But one other element with their composition, with the variable of Medivh in this draft, I think Psalm is going to have to play out of his mind if Tempo Storm is going to take this map.
Well, you know what, Dreadnought? Tempo Storm started off slowly in the group stage, as they often do at events, but they were able to overcome CE, and a lot of that came down to Psalm and his playmaking. Once they put him on heroes like Kerrigan, like his Kel'Thuzad, where he could dictate the fights. He could say, here, take this person down right now. That's when things worked for Tempo Storm, and he could do that with the Leyline Seal.
Yeah, the Leyline Seal is a big playmaker, but we also have to remember the fact that Fnatic is playing in a region with Team Expert. ADRD, they know how to deal with the Medivh. They know how to play around this very unique strategy. So it's just, can Tempo Storm use the, the innovation, the adjustments of picking themselves up this Medivh playstyle and overcome the Titan known as Fnatic?
Fnatic, the Titans, the mid-season brawl winners, but also struggling in the group stage quite a lot statistically. The worst of the 3 European teams, and we've already seen one fall, Team Dignitas. June dropping the sprays, making sure he stays alive. So crucial that Tempo Storm doesn't fall behind Fnatic. Fnatic are the kind of team, especially on these large battlegrounds, where they're able to set up so many options in lanes with things like mercenary camps, with lane pushes, so that they can either set up for picks with some brush ganks, or even just be able to siege down structures really quickly. And that only gets worse and elevated the later into the game we go with Abathur.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Abathur is something we always have to be considering. But as we see, both of the teams perfectly timing this bottom sapper camp as we're going to have our very first altar phase. 24 seconds out. I don't expect any advantage or too big of a clash here towards those sappers. It's just who is going to have the advantageous positioning on those top altars.
Well, both teams have a global, but it's Abathur in the top, and that can be risky to send up there to pick up an altar. So far, Haka not stalking in. He wants to make sure that he can get all of the minions in that wave and then move down to get the safe altar before coming in for the power play with Tempo Storm. Medivh starting to move down, as is Muradin.
Tempo Storm might be able to get away with this just because of that Abathur weak early game. Nice stun interrupt there, allowing Fury not to be able to rake the members of Fnatic up, but that bottom altar here was actually not picked up there. That was a great delay as well. Abathur's capturing the top left-hand side, while the top right we see Fnatic going in, and we're actually going to see the Medivh collapse.
Yeah, it was excellent to see that Arthas stopped so that Abathur could feel free to get that top altar, but hasn't gotten that in the top just yet. They're pushing Dahaka clear back, but Fnatic in the mid. We're able to zone. Arthas goes down. First blood claimed by Tempo Storm, but they lose 2 of the altars.
So the question is the trade of that 1 kill worth some of the shots here for the members of Tempo Storm? And that is yet to be determined. We have to see if Tempo Storm can keep this experience advantage. It is a must, again, on that note of an Abathur on Towers of Doom. Another note of what Tempo has to be considering now with this pressure onto the bottom lane is that they do not want to lose this bottom altar. We have seen team after team use the Abathur, use the protection towards that bottom lane, and really just force the hand of the opponent left and right.
Yeah, that was a moment that Fnatic lost. The only game that they lost in the group stage to Team Freedom, it was because of that constant bottom lane pressure. And that is something that you can overcome. Expert did it versus Dignitas, but it requires perfect play at every single juncture of the game, and that's not something that Tempo Storm wants to get into a position versus a Titan like Fnatic.
I got to appreciate the fact that Tempo Storm has managed to accumulate a half-level lead here. Again, it is a bit of the Abathur problem with the composition here for the members of Fnatic, but Fnatic is known as one of the best macro teams in the world, and though Tempo Storm, is known as the macro of North America, I did not expect them to be able to achieve these kind of, early advantages just through good rotations.
Yeah, it's very important that Tempo Storm does that. Fnatic is a good macro team, but generally they really come online at 10 always when they get their heroic abilities. They are more patient since they are against these very aggressive teams in the region, teams like Team Dignitas and Expert. Early aggression, trying to get the besting of Fnatic, since Fnatic normally do just spiral out of control in the mid to late game. So it's awesome for Tempo Storm here, especially since they're the North American team, one of two that remain here at the HGC Finals.
Yeah, especially after watching what we saw between Team Freedom and MVP Black, you know that these teams here want to claim one for their own. You even heard Cattle talking about the fact that this is one of the few North American lands that they're going to get, and they want to provide. But if they're going to do so, it's going to have to start here with that bottom altar.
Yeah, and on the subject of North America, all year long we've heard about NA teams wanting to be able to establish their own meta, things that NA is known for. And we've seen sometimes where that has worked for NA in this event. Things like Roll20 on Warhead Junction versus Tempest, or even Team Freedom versus Fnatic on this very map. Tempo Storm now has the flip from Fury, pulled back in on Breeze. He takes the damage, but he's still living.
It's going to be the Dwarf Toss down. The members of Tempo Storm looking to get aggressive. Cattle even coming in with a brush stock. You have to see the drag. Breeze goes down. Tempo Storm find a way to connect there with the kills. June's going to start the channel, and it looks like Tempo Storm find themselves a few shots.
Yeah, Fnatic don't want to give anything else to Tempo Storm. Tempo are already getting ahead in experience. They did at least bring down Dahaka for the full 5-man engage to take out Breeze. So that's a breath of fresh air for Fnatic that they have Abathur still soaking up in the top lane the whole time. But this is a best of 3. Anything can happen, and Tempo Storm are off to a great start on making that anything maybe be a win for North America.
Oftentimes we see ourselves, especially with Murden, he's able to get that Dwarf Toss out, or if he goes in with that initiation, it's very unlikely that he is going to be the problem. But consider the elements of the composition that we see out of Tempo between, the flip of Garrosh, the pull back of Garrosh, and more importantly, that portal. There is no way a Murden should be able to make it out of those situations. So we know, looking forward here, Breeze has got to second guess his positioning a little bit more than maybe you normally would if you're a Murden, excuse me.
Yeah, it's something that Justing from Roll20 did a great job with his Garrosh during the group stage, and that's the control of the enemy warrior. Breeze has to be thinking that, even though he has the Abathur symbiote, it gives him a little extra help. Things like Palm, that will be a different factor once we get to 10 for Fnatic. But speaking of 10, Tempo Storm are well on their way to heroic abilities. Let's see what they grab.
On the World of Masters touch here for Psalm, after we've had a couple of skirmishes, he's only rounded 9. And we heard Grubby hypothesizing, would it in fact be the Polybomb? And North America says yes.
Yes, it is Polybomb Warlord's Challenge. No go for the throat. We've got Cursed Bullet here. So it does seem like the target is still going to be Breeze from Fnatic, being able to get that chunk of 35% of your health, and then having the polymorph there, giving a little extra time where he can't jump away. You can keep that control there and then take him down, takes out the frontliner, and stops Fnatic from being able to be as aggressive in the comps.
We should highlight the fact that both of the warriors, though, on Fnatic's composition have self-sustained. At post 13, Murden is going to be very, very comfortable with taking that amount of damage, and if they do not succeed in that one shot, one kill that we see, and the idea here from Tempo Storm, I think it is very likely Fnatic looks at the team fight and goes, this thing is done. We can turn this around. You failed this initiation.
Yeah, Icebound Fortitude may be a thorn in the sides of Tempo Storm if they want to change up and try to go after Arthas instead. But we've got 2 more altars, and it looks like a flat trade between the 2 teams as we continue to feel things out in game 1 of this best of 3.
Neither team really wanted to get, too very aggressive. The few moments that we have seen Fnatic try and posture up, Tempo has done a great job of getting that punishment outward. But also, you said it before, Fnatic is a team that loves to kind of just put you in lose-lose scenarios up until they get their 10s, they get their heroics, and then they say, all right, time to get the trade. We can win these type of team fights.
Yeah, they're like a rattlesnake. They will also just kind of stay coiled, manipulate the map as best they can, but if you force them, they will strike. Think about the way they executed in Game 3 versus Freedom. They were able to use the Gorge of Stitches and take out even a D.Va, who you think is going to be the safe one versus a Stitches Gorge.
No, we saw a lot of D.Vas.
Not so much.
She was really struggling. North America and just D.Va in general throughout all of the HGC finals. It's been really awesome to see the kind of development and strategy to be able to deal with one of our newer heroes here. But Tempo Storm looking to escort these bottom sappers in. It doesn't look like he's going to get too much damage. Not enough threat here without the Dahaka committing down to the bottom lane.
Yeah, Caterpillar on that Dahaka has continued to put the pressure onto both mid and top lanes, trying to get the double soak, trying to keep Abathur at bay, because a lot of times when you have these Abathur compositions, you can put too much focus in trying to get picks, trying to get kills in the bottom lane, and as a result from that, once the team with the Abathur wins a decisive team fight, they've whittled down the other two bell towers so much that you can quickly make this gigantic play and take down the forts at once, and then that's an irrecoverable place for any team trying to go up against that. So Tempo Storm with their Dahaka making sure to mitigate that as best they can.
And they have done an effective job of trying to get that early game advantage. That is something I've been trying to highlight here for Tempo Storm, but now it's kind of hitting the breaking point of was it enough for them? With the Abathur being able to get the side soak, yes, Dahaka will be there to be able to try and match, trade into the experienced Avano, but eventually he has to brush talk in, he has to look to join that fight, and we can assume that Fnatic will find a way to eke themselves ahead over Tempo Storm and experience. I mean, it legitimately is the reason they have kind of climbed to the top of international performers here, is because they're so good at manipulating the map, soaking every ounce of experience at their disposal.
Well, this is the best chance for Fnatic to start to push those lanes effectively. There's only one altar here, and they should be able to poke for a long time. They have things like Li Ming with those skill shots. Breeze can go in, do a lot of damage, and then hopefully get out, although you don't know for sure with the Garrosh. Tempo Storm are looking to blow the map open right here, right now with a fight, and until they get that, until they find a person, they are not bringing Dahaka down, not for anything.
Not for anything. They're going to try and keep this advantage. Howling Blast is going to push June off here on that bottom altar. Tempo Storm and French just kind of sharking around here, but a lot of teams just posturing up. I'm surprised at the lack of aggression out of Tempo Storm into the early game, and now the Fnatics come online with their heroics. They're still, you know, taking a minute here, a hot minute.
They're being safe. It's a best of 3, and they just saw Dignitas lose to Team Expert in that best of 3, a team that they were their Achilles heel.
Wubby.
But Tempo Storm has found the place to go in for the fight. They take down Arthas.
Great porta play coming out from Tempo Storm, and they're not done yet. Smex throwing out the Fists of Fury there with his 13 talent tier adjustment. 22 seconds before they're out of an Arthas, but the clone here, Schwimpy, is enough to get a deterrent. Lands a Howling Blast.
That was a big Howling Blast too, but Tempo Storm rallied, took out the clone, and now things are better. They've dealt with both one Arthas and the second Arthas, and now as long as they can block the skill shot from Li Ming, Tempo Storm will walk away with another altar.
Tempo Storm able to find themselves the first lead when it comes to the core HP here, and they found themselves experience on top of it. Tempo Storm is looking like they might be able to achieve that, you know, what we always are afraid of with Abathur compositions, this late game experience just snowball that they are able to achieve for themselves. But look at this setup. The members of Tempo Storm, the minute the portal goes down, all right through it, and nothing left there for Wubby to make it out.
And that's what we were talking about with Som. He spotted somebody, and he put the portal down, and everyone followed suit. Something that we would say would be a play from Roll20, but Tempo Storm are showing that they can make the Medivh plays too. Speaking of Medivh,
Breeze, he's gonna get this
Breeze
invade.
is going in.
Trying to get the aggression, wave of force, nice stun. Garrosh with a lot of armor. He's gonna eat that force of will. The portal down for Tempo Storm. But nice cheeky play there from Fnatic. Finally, you know, kind of bringing out the claws.
Yeah, and that's the place where Fnatic wanted to fight, so Tempo Storm will say, okay, fine, you just take these sappers, we will be okay. Tempo actually got them, so it was just Fnatic clearing it up. The bigger thing was that Fnatic didn't get any kills there and didn't stop the momentum swing that Tempo Storm is behind trying to get to level 16.
And because the map objective is very unlikely that it's going to spawn in a window where Fnatic can rely on that 16 talent here, I feel like that was a moment of a bit of desperation here from the members of Fnatic. A lot of harassment there going out from Schwimpy's clone. But just the fact that they wanted to get that fight pre-16, that was the goal, the intent here. And now they're going to, I thought immediately we'd see a follow-up on the Howling Blast. Now Fnatic is on full retreat, knowing Tempo Storm is rounding a major power spike.
Yeah, 16 is here. Dahaka starting to walk on down, making sure that he hides out of vision. There's a portal. Breeze seems again to be the target of Tempo Storm, but Fnatic will leave, just making sure that they can get to 16. The problem, Dreadnought, is it's the 5th altar phase, which means there are 3 altars about to spawn.
But, oh, if they found themselves a Dahaka, Very nice job there. The 16 talents here paying off. Without that burrowing claws, there was going to be no chance we saw Cattle make it out. But Tempo Storm does have themselves a small window where they're going to have that 16 talents here over Fnatic. You can always assume Abathur will be able to aid and catch them up here. But if Tempo gets 2 of these altars, this might be a little bit too much for Fnatic to recover from.
It's starting to get scary for our European team. Down in the bottom, Dahaka channels. In the top, Rhaegar channels a straight switch of the top altars. But because the bottom, because of the 16, Tempo Storm climbs even further ahead on Towers of Doom.
We see the 13 talents here for Kharazim going into the damage focus, and totally understandable considering, you know, it's a double warrior, only a Li Ming backline. Wait a minute, Fnatic, they're gonna go in. Breeze just blind door toss over the wall. There's a flip from Fury. He's gonna go ahead and use the taunt on the 3 members here. The polybomb pulling them in, and they get the kill!
Breeze is gone, Wubby staying inside. He's got Army of the Dead right now. His after healing went up, and Cattle goes in, drags him back, and upon this force, nobody proccing it, but they want this kill. They're still continuing on. In the back, though, the clone has to be dealt with. Tempo Storm making sure to deal with the clone. They don't buy off more than they can chew, and they're rewarded with a Breeze kill.
Tempo Storm is showing restraint, showing just calculated decision-making here over Fnatic, and my mind is blown at this point. This is the 3rd seed in North America versus the defending world champions.
I want to take another look at that fight. We saw, again, Fnatic wanting to go in, and Breeze the control there, throwing him up, dropping him down. Immediate polymorph after the fact, but it's this, that 3-man Warlords challenge, the control over Breeze. They almost got Wubby too, but thankfully he had Army of the Dead. But even still, Fnatic are falling farther and farther behind here, especially now that Tempo Storm gets a bell tower.
And you gotta appreciate Fury's hesitation there to keep his taunt as long as possible. Finds Wubby, flips him over, the damage. A lot of heals coming up from Wubby, the polymorph. He's gonna pull away, but no palm available once again from that brilliant adjustment here from Tempo.
And Smexy's not out of it either. Self-palms has the symbiote too, but Som says, what's up, Smexy? They catch up with the portal. Mill kill, Kharazim first kill.
Tempo Storm, 2-man advantage here over this next altar phase. June's gonna lock in 5 more shots on bottom. Garrosh starting his channel up. Tempo Storm, after we get over the 3rd altar phase, is going to find themselves 6 shots. A boss now? This is amazing. 2 shots away if they get this boss.
2 shots away from winning a game over Fnatic, the reigning mid-season Brawl champion. Fury's in danger, just buying some time though. Dodges the Storm Bolt with the Wave of Force, but eventually Garrosh does go down. Fnatic are able to get a kill, and it's desperately needed.
To be honest, that was such a worth call coming out from Fury to buy that much time. At this point, Tempo Storm has put Fnatic in such a risky position that they cannot make one mistake after that final boss. Everything is a win condition. Sappers, every altar is very likely to be into their favor. This is just astounding. So where can Fnatic get this recovery? 25 seconds in, looks like bottom bell tower is going to be the first pit stop.
Yeah, they'll get bottom bell tower, and that may be some time buying so that they can take back their own bell tower and then get a lead on the structures. This is a important juncture in Tempo Storm's play at this point, because yes, they are ahead. They have that 2 hit points away from being able to take the game, but in times past, in series past, Tempo Storm, in losing somebody like Fury, they would fall apart with staggered deaths. So they have to not get to that point. They have to stay as safe as they can until they get to 20, but Fnatic, they need to use that, and they need to run with it. They got that bell tower. Now they have Sappers and Kharazim working on the bottom. They're going to try to push at every single angle to get some sort of leverage in this game.
I got to appreciate the rotations there for Fnatic. The fact that they converted this bottom bell tower means that they can safely only send the Kharazim, maximizing their resources elsewhere onto the map and showing why, again, they are such a brilliant, and dominant team here at the international stage. Tempo Storm, though, the 20 talent tier is here. We know that Fnatic is desperately just hoping that no altars come online, no win conditions are going to be forced. 28 seconds out is enough for them, so we are going to have ourselves a 5 versus 5, 20 versus 20.
So what do those 20s look like for Tempo Storm? Well, we do have the Titanic Might, so a double throw for Garrosh. Also Contagion, the grouping from Fnatic cannot be there, or you're going to have the group isolation, which is absolutely devastating for a fight. We'll see what Fnatic's about to pick up. 6 seconds until this altar spawns. We'll definitely let Tempo Storm get the better setup at what could be the final altar monster phase of this game.
And we have to highlight the fact that Glyph of Greater Polymorph Breeze, 3-man Dwarf Toss goes in. This taunt coming up from Fury onto 3 of the members. There's the Polybomb!
That Polybomb is huge. It hit every single member of Fnatic. Tempo Storm are wiping the floor of Fnatic.
Fnatic losing the Li Ming. They still have the clone. Ancestral does end up landing. Garrus is under a lot of pressure. He takes the portal right on out. Great shield coming out from Medivh. Tempo Storm, they hold their own, but Fnatic is winning this fight.
They are. The front wall
Cattle.
stayed strong. Caterpillar came in. Cleansing touch as Smexy jumps in. We see Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm wants to go back in for this. They have the stun. The palm is proc. Breeze is fine in the middle of all of the members of Tempo Storm who are healthy-ish. They're channeling.
They're channeling.
Wubby has to stop it.
If they get this channel, the game is over. Breeze ends up going down.
Meriden's gone. Som hits another polybomb and thrown in to grab Wubby. This is going to be Tempo Storm's game. Tempo Storm will win a game. Game 1 over Fnatic.
Tempo Storm bringing it here in game number 1. Swinging. I have no idea. You hear the crowd. USA.
I hear the crowd.
They are so behind Tempo Storm.
Tempo Storm is now 1 game win away of achieving an upset nobody ever believed in. Nobody would believe in. They're not done yet, but that is such a victory for our NA team.
Such a victory here for Tempo Storm. And as you said, though, it is not done yet. One creative strategy catching off the members here of Fnatic off guard. And also, Grubby brought it up, that Fnatic was kind of riding the wave with their strategies. Maybe a small adjustment here and there, but we feel like we are yet to see what do they have in store for us here at the BlizzCon stage.
Well, let's see what the analysts think of game 1. Tempo Storm getting the win.
Are we in Upside Down land? Wait a minute. Did the planets align and we just saw Garrosh taunt into Polybomb absolutely ravage Fnatic?
The question is, can we really think here when your mind is blown?
It's tough to think, but I do think that going back to your prediction, Grubby, in draft about how this comp would function, how melee it is, how dive heavy it is when you've got this Arthas, Muradin, Kharazim. We saw so many times not only was Wubby Polybomb, but sometimes he had to avoid the Polybomb so couldn't get the value out of that Arthas there, and that's such a great pick here.
I mean, we cannot understate this. This is the single most amazing victory of a North American team against a European team. Just a match, you know, a single game in 2 years?
Basically forever. When Cloud9 won BlizzCon, they did so, of course, by beating Dignitas in the final.
Yes.
So that one really comes to mind, and that was 2 years ago.
And one of the guys that at the end was popping off because he was hyped was Som, who on the Medivh was playing a phenomenal game. And he's somebody that we definitely have to highlight throughout this tournament.
It's been so much we've seen from this player. The smile on his face.
He knew this result was going to happen.
The rage, you can feel it, but it's so focused, you know? And I feel like when we see this guy standing up and yelling and calling to his teammates, it's that hype that it brings. You can hear the crowd behind us very much hyped with him, and I feel like we have to, we look at these drafts and go, well, Som, it seemed like you want to play this hero, and they made it work. We're able to force this Kerrigan pick, but I think we got to start trusting this guy because it's working out.
Let's take a look at one of the coolest moments. We saw actually a lot of reservation on the side of Tempo Storm, where they didn't use everything they had immediately, but everything comes to a head here. Level 16 talents each. Now we're gonna look when Breeze is about to be jumping in like that. As we pause it for a sec, first of all, Goblin Sappers are going to be helping Tempo Storm here, so that helps a bit. Mistiming by Breeze. Now as we roll it forward, we're gonna see that Polybomb come out from Som. And look at that combination. It's going to be Polybomb together with Taunt. That means it's a guaranteed spread. Kharazim is also too close. We see the isolation coming out on Smexy. And then, of course, finally, the Arthas copy is going to be gunning for Medivh, and he will drive him into a corner. And that would make it kind of okay for Fnatic. But Som also gets away with that force of will, with the portals. And, I mean, I'm sure everyone will remember these polybombs for a long time to come because they were impactful like crazy.
It felt like, you know, we were going into the draft, we thought that they were trying to bait out the Garrosh after controlling Muradin, controlling ETC. But Fnatic got outsmarted with the polybomb.
We were asking a question like, why are they not going for Brightwing? Why go Brightwing if you can only polymorph one when you can polymorph 5 with the polybomb and Medivh, right? The same argument can be made for Varian. If I can taunt 1, I can taunt 5 with Garrosh. The synergy between these ultimates they have, you've got the Isolation, the Warlord's Challenge, the polybomb as we described. We talk about teams having very one-dimensional compositions where there is only one way for them to go in. Allows your opposition obviously make it quite easy to, I suppose, make a counterplay towards that. With this, there's just so many different threats. The way Fnatic are used to playing, they jump in. You can see, like, as you said, Breeze jumping onto that Seppa camp. He thinks he's got the fight where it looks so perfect. Tempo Storm go, no. This is how we like to do it back here in NA.
This is a thing that we just haven't really seen before, and it's again these strategies that are made by Tempo Storm. They're so strong, and you know when you look at this draft, no one would have predicted this exact combo. None of us at desk, sure, Grubby pointed out Polybomb quite strong here, but we didn't really think about exactly how that would work in combination with the Garrosh, and I think right now Fnatic's feeling pretty sheepish.
Yeah, definitely they are. Very well played there. As we head to a short break here and hear from our sponsor, but when we return, it's game number 2 between Fnatic and Tempo Storm.